It's just a... I actually quite literally just realized that this is worsted weight. Hey, what's up? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, aka Midsummer Knits, and welcome if you've never been here before. I make videos about knitting and fiber arts content every single week. So, fun fact, today's video is actually going to be a recreation of a video I made a year ago, which was my stash tour. I thought it would be a cool idea if I did one of these every year and kind of gave you guys an updated look into what my stash is looking like, talk about yarns that I've used up within the past year, yarns that I have left over, and just keep on giving you guys updates as to what my stash is looking like. I feel like these videos are just really fun for me to watch to see what yarn other people have and what they're planning to do with it. So I thought it'd be fun if I also did one. And I'm also really excited to show you guys my updated pegboard. If you have been watching my channel for a bit, you'll know that I recently moved. I lived in Tahoe for the past like 8 months, and I just moved back to San Francisco where I lived before Tahoe. And because I was kind of in a short-term lease situation in Tahoe, I didn't really have anywhere specific to store my yarn. I kind of kept it split between a few different bins, and it just honestly wasn't very cute. But now that I moved back to San Francisco, I got another pegboard, I got my yarn all set up on the pegboard, and I think it looks so good. And it honestly helps me to have a better idea of what yarn I have in stash, because if I just have yarn split across like a bunch of different storage boxes, it's just not as easy for me to see visually what I have available to use, versus when I have all of my yarn up on a pegboard, it's very easy to forget what I actually have and what I don't have. So I'm really excited to show you guys my setup as well as all of the yarn in my stash. Okay, MTV, welcome to my crib. As you can see, I'm just gonna tell you guys down really quick, there are some reading chairs that I have right here, and I absolutely love these reading chairs. They're so comfy, and it's really nice that I just have this little kind of like nook that is a little bit more of a space for my hobbies, versus over here I have like my desk and my working stuff and then my living room. So this is just a nice little cubby for my hobbies and things. And here is my stash. So as you guys can see, I have a lot of yarn. This side I have just kept all the yarn that I have still in the hank or in a skein, whatever you guys refer to that as. I have always referred to it as a skein, but I've heard a lot of people say hank lately, so I'm not sure if I'm using the wrong term. But this is where I keep the yarn that is still in the skein that I haven't actually wound up for use. And then on this side, as you can see, I obviously have balls and cakes that I've wound up myself. So I apologize, I know the lighting is not as good over here, but I figured it made more sense to take you guys over here as opposed to like taking every single skein off of the wall and bringing it over to my filming area to show you guys. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start going through all of my yarn. Okay, I figured we would just start off with the skein side of the wall because it's a little bit easier for me to take each of the skeins off and show them to you guys. First off, I already featured this one in my recent yarn haul video because I did pick it up recently, but it is Cedar House Yarns Sapling Sock in Sunstone. This is a hand-dyed yarn. This company actually just recently shut down because the owner wanted to spend more time with her family and they had like a closing sale, and I grabbed this. I have been wanting to make my own sock pattern for so long because socks and garments are the two kind of major things that I knit, and I wanted to make a sock design in like a pink yarn. So this is what I picked up to make this sock design. I am hoping that I can get to it before the end of the year, like in the fall sometime, so I am hopefully planning to use this one relatively soon. Okay, next up I have 2 skeins of this absolutely gorgeous hand-dyed yarn. And by the way, before we get into my entire stash, I do want to give a disclaimer that I do have a lot of hand-dyed yarn, which I know is a lot more expensive. I'm very lucky to have a well-paying job and the ability to kind of afford whatever yarn I want. And in addition to loving hand-dyed yarn, I also really love supporting indie dyers. So I do try and get hand-dyed yarn for most of my projects, but I definitely appreciate all different yarns. It's just that I do tend to have a lot of hand-dyed yarns. So this one is from Savannah Rose Handmade. Fun fact, I actually won this in a giveaway on Instagram, which means that I feel like I did not make the most intentional decision when it came to getting this yarn. I kind of just entered the giveaway and then was like, oh, I won, what am I gonna make with this now? And truthfully, I'm not actually sure what I'm going to make with it. Also, by the way, this is Surrey alpaca. So truthfully, I don't know what I'm going to make with this. However, it's so pretty that I don't think I'm gonna get rid of it. If you guys have any ideas of what I can make with 2 skeins of Surrey alpaca, around like 400 yards total, let me know because I don't really have any sense of what I can make with this. Next up, I have 2 skeins of this Amelia and Philomene, just like this really pretty light sage green yarn. It is in fingering weight and it's 50% merino, 50% cotton. So I actually do have a specific project in mind for this. I got this because I was doing a collaboration with this company called Unit Toronto, and this is part of a kit for their Florencia tee. I'll put a picture of it on the screen. And it's just this really cute basic tee that has a simple lace design. So that's what I'm planning to be making with this. Unfortunately, we are kind of going into the fall and winter now, so I'm probably not going to knit this, but I am hoping to do it next year sometime. Okay, next up is a single skein of Axis by Lily Kate Makes, and this is just a worsted weight dark green. It is 90% merino and 10% alpaca, and it has kind of like a rustic texture where you can see these little like pieces of alpaca coming off of the yarn. I actually just took this one off of my board as well because I realized that this is another small cake that I have left of this yarn. I've used both of these for my Moby sweater and I just had a little bit of leftovers. Maybe I'll find some sort of like leftover product to contribute this to. All right, next up I have some yarns from Arcane Fiberworks. I talked about these in my yarn haul as well, and I actually do have a discount code / affiliate link for them if you guys want to use them. But this is not sponsored, they just sent me this yarn for free, so thank you to Arcane Fiberworks. So first off I have these 2 skeins of their teal DK weight yarn. This is 80% merino and 20% nylon. I don't have a specific thing in mind for this, but most likely I'll probably just make a tank top or vest of some sort. I feel like this is a pretty versatile yarn, so I don't have a specific plan in mind, but I feel like I could very easily just like search up DK weight tank tops and come up with something to make out of this. So again, maybe not an imminent plan, but I could definitely see myself like finding a pattern that I want to make and using up this yarn in a very short amount of time. They also sent me this fingering weight yarn. This one is the colorway I Don't Believe in Humans, and I'm just going to use this for a pair of socks. Socks are usually the place that I kind of branch out and experiment the most when it comes to variegated yarns. So I've just recently knit actually another pair of socks using Arcane Fiberworks yarn. I used their Spirit of Spring colorway to make myself these just like cute little frilly socks with the pattern Midnight Dancer by Sarah Nordlin. So I might just do something kind of similar with this colorway. I'm not sure when I'll get to it, but I definitely do want to hold on to all 3 of these skeins. Okay, we're starting to get close to the end of the skeins. Next up, I have another imminent project. I quite literally bought these like a week ago because I want to make a second heartless top. The heartless top is my design that has a heart cut out on the chest, and I've just made one already in red. I just recently finished writing up the pattern except for the fact that it needs to be size graded, which I don't really know how to do in too much depth, so I'm trying to see if I can outsource it to like a tech editor, and I've been working on trying to get that done. But that being said, I want to knit a second one because I want to try and do maybe a couple of like tutorials and just videos showing how to do certain steps on the top because it does have a couple of more detailed finishing techniques. So I want to make another one and I decided I wanted it to be light purple. So I got this Dream and Color Classy in Lavender Bloom. It's just a... I actually quite literally just realized that this is worsted weight and I used DK weight for my last top. Literally just looking at the label just now, I realized that I bought the wrong weight. I'm trying to decide what to do. I might just still use this yarn and slightly adjust the numbers, but we'll see. Here are the last skeins that I have. This is the most unique colorway that I have in my stash, I feel like. It is from the Scranton Stitcher. It is called Groovy Kind of Love, and it's a DK weight hand-dyed yarn. You know, on second thought, I could totally make a heartless top out of this because this is DK weight. But I actually got 2 skeins of the DK weight and then 1 skein of her mohair because I kind of had an idea in mind when I bought this like a year or 2 ago that I wanted to do some sort of top where like either the straps or sleeves were done in mohair. So I wanted to have the matching mohair as well as the wool yarn. But that being said, I feel like that idea didn't really pan out. I could still go back to that idea and do it, but I don't really know for sure what I'm gonna do yet. I just saw this color on the Scranton Stitcher's Instagram and I was like, that is so perfect, it is so me. Purple is my favorite color, as you guys might be able to tell, and maybe I acted too hastily in buying it, but she did have kind of like a limited edition deal going on with it. Like if I hadn't gotten it at the time, I wouldn't have been able to get it later. So I kind of bought it and now I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. That being said, I think this one is so freaking gorgeous. So I think I am going to hold on to it and hopefully find a project that I can make with it in the next year or 2. Okay, so for the right side of my board, I think I'm going to stick to just the bigger quantities of yarn that I have here. For example, a lot of these are actually just leftovers from projects where I have like 3/4 of a skein left, so I'll probably just skip over those because I do have a lot of leftovers, and I'll go over the yarn where I have at least like a ball or two that I could actually make a project with. First of all, I'm just gonna start with this one because it was the easiest for me to grab. I have 3 skeins of this Yarnalia Woolly in Feather, and I just wound this one up because it made it a little bit easier to put it on my board, but I actually also have some leftovers of Yarnalia Skylark in this spring blue color, which I used for my Luna tee. I actually have like an equal quantity that I used up versus the leftovers, so I definitely have enough for another like tank top or tee. And this one I have 3 skeins of this gray one, so that is plenty for a tank top or tee as well. Basically, I'm gonna use both of these, I think, for some sort of garment that is either like sleeveless or short sleeved. This one, I actually do have a specific project in mind. I want to try and make the Tied and True tank for my friend Tamara at Star-Crossed Knits. I think this is such a cool and unique design, and honestly I feel like I could probably knit it up pretty quickly, knock on wood. So honestly, maybe I'll just do this as a project like in the fall sometime, because I really have been craving like a little quick tank top that I can just knit up and be done with really quickly. So I think that could be a good candidate for me to make in the near future. Next up, I have another quantity that would probably be good for a tee or tank top of some sort, and that is leftovers from my Dream in Color Classy. I made my mom a yellow sweater in this color, and I have actually like 3 balls left over, so it's plenty to make some sort of garment. Not a sweater, but probably something that is either sleeveless or short sleeved. I have had my eye on making the Florence polo by Beck Penner for so long. I've mentioned it in many videos. It is just this really cute collared tee, and I think it would be another really quick and fun knit. And I might use this. This is actually not the right weight. Again, this one is worsted weight, and the Florence polo is made in DK weight, but I think that I could either knit a smaller size if there's one available that would fit me, or I could just like fudge the numbers a little bit to get it to fit properly. So that is another project I would love to take on soon. I've been thinking about knitting that one for so long that I'm like, I just need to get to it or else it's never gonna happen. So I'm hoping I can get to one of these like garments that I have in my queue relatively soon. Okay, and next up I think we just have a few single skeins. Like I mentioned, I showed you guys all of the like larger quantities of yarn that could make like a sweater or a tank top or something. And now, again, leaving out any like partial skeins, I think I just have a couple of single skeins. Also, a couple of these are unlabeled because I have had them since my literal childhood. So here is a good example of one that is unlabeled. I think that I actually bought this with the intention to dye it when I was younger, and I never got around to that, as you can see. I am not sure which weight it is. It looks like maybe a little bit thinner than worsted weight, so it might be DK weight, but this is just like a plain white, undyed, I'm assuming it's wool yarn. I really don't have any plans for it. I did think maybe that I could do something with both white and black, like a sweater or something, maybe some sort of like houndstooth pattern. I thought that would be cute, but I don't actually have any black yarn yet. So I think this one will just be waiting around in purgatory until I either dye it or decide on some product to make with it. Next up, I have this really gorgeous cake, a hand spun yarn that my mom spun. She just gave this to me last time I visited home for Christmas. I absolutely love hand spun yarn. I think it is the most gorgeous thing in the entire world. It just looks so much more homemade, obviously, than non-hand spun yarn, and I like that there's so much color variation throughout this skein. I think more than likely I will just make a hat with this because I don't think it's enough to make much more than that, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna make the hat for myself or for someone else. So this one's really gorgeous. I think it'll be a really nice experience to actually make a hat out of this because it'll just be fun to knit up. Next one has a bit of a funny story. I got this Wool and the Gang yarn with the intention to make a chunky bucket hat because I had seen someone else on TikTok make a chunky bucket hat and I thought it was so cute. I then went ahead and made the chunky bucket hat and it was such a fail. I'll see if I have a picture of it, but it just looked way too big on my head and it looked really silly. And I feel like I should give it another try because I did see the ones on TikTok and I thought they were super cute. But at the moment I am just annoyed with that project, so I kind of put it aside to rot in purgatory. But I do have one more skein left of that yarn, and I honestly don't even know how frogging super bulky like single ply yarn is going to work. So it's totally possible that I'll just have to use this skein if I want to actually remake the hat. Otherwise, I will try and frog it and use the single skein that I already had, but we'll see. I don't have any other plans for this either, so this could honestly be a good one to put on my Instagram story up for sale, but I'll have to do that once I figure out what I'm doing with that first skein and that bucket hat. Okay, and this is gonna be the last thing I show because like I said, I have a lot of partial skeins that are probably just going to remain in my stash for quite a while, but I have literally 4 skeins of sock yarn that I have just had for a little bit of time and haven't made anything out of them. Can you stop? And haven't made anything out of them. I am definitely planning to make socks out of all of these, but I just haven't quite gotten around to making socks with them yet. I actually feel like I want to start just having socks as a constant project that I can just work on, especially during my commute, because I have been going into the office a little bit more. And so I have like a 30-minute commute where I feel like I could use that time to just do a little bit of knitting, and socks is the perfect project for that. So all 4 of these, I am planning to make socks out of them. And because I am hoping to make socks more often and just keep them as a kind of consistent project, I don't plan to get rid of these. I think that I will use them up eventually, but we'll see. I have all these cool tones for the most part. So that is it for my stash tour. I know this might sound silly, but I honestly thought I would have more to show you guys. But like I mentioned, I do have a lot of just kind of like small leftovers from projects where I don't even have a single skein left. So I really think that I need to come up with some sort of stash busting project soon. I would love to make like a pillow for my living room because I don't currently have any pillows for my couch. So I think that could be a nice stash busting project if I have enough yarns of the same weight. So I'm hopefully going to figure out some sort of stash busting project soon. And also I know this might be kind of an insane amount of yarn to some people. I know that people definitely have different approaches to stash, where some people just don't really have yarn in stash. They kind of just buy yarn whenever they want to make something specific. And I am trying to lean more towards that approach and not buy yarn without having some sort of project in mind. But we will see. Maybe next year my stash will actually be smaller. That being said, I honestly think that I used up a good bit of the yarn that I had in the stash last year, especially like the sweater quantities. I used up 2 sweater quantities of yarn, which I think were kind of my biggest things that I had in stash last year. So I'm not unhappy with that progress that I made in the past year. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed watching me go over my stash. If you did, you can totally subscribe and also hit the bell button to get notified every single time that I post. I post once a week, usually on Wednesdays. And thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.